Hello, welcome back to another first appearance reading video. First up, Micronauts. I will probably save showing the inside of this book when I do an author spotlight on Michael Golden because he deserves a spotlight. If you're a fan, well, I'm a fan of science fiction like Star Trek, Star Wars, so I always Battlestar Galactica. So I enjoy reading comic books that is in a different environment than the typical superhero comic books, and this take place in the microverse. Certainly not a lot described in here to know everything about microverse, but certainly the story, the character is interesting, eclectic. Is You have this beautiful cover by none other than Dave Cockrum. The name's cool, Micronauts, and the team members, as you can see right here, are pretty cool. I would give the team members a 3.5. Interesting, it's definitely unique, eclectic. What grabbed me about this book more than anything else, in all honesty, is the beautiful art by Michael Golden. I certainly, did not see a lot of his work prior to buying these Micronauts, and when I first flipped through them, the first thing that jumped out at me was how beautiful his style of drawing is. So, if you're a fan of Michael Golden, I'm sure you already have this book. But as far as the story, it's interesting. It's different. I give the book a 3.5 out of 5 for the story, a 3.5 out of 5 for the team, the members, their skill set, and all that. So this book got a 7 out of 10. Not bad. If I was buying this off the rack, no doubt in my mind, I would buy issue 2. And for those that are interested in reading this, grab the first, I think, 11 issues. That's when Michael Golden was involved. If you want to see, in my opinion, some of his best work ever was from issue 1 to 11. It's just beautiful. But I enjoyed it, for what it is. It's fairly different than the typical superhero comic books. 7 out of 10. Next up is perhaps one of my favorite modern age new characters. When you're talking about mid 80s through the early 90s, before I quit buying books, there are barely a handful of new characters that was introduced in the mid 80s through the early 90s that caught my attention. And this is one of them. The name is the name is not unique. Okay, this is the term Typhoid Mary has been around before this character. Okay, Daredevil 254, and I can tell you, it's a cool character. The way they make her personality and skill set is very unique. Her look is very 80s, okay? For those that grew up in the 80s with the big hair band, big hair, punk look, or rock, or modern music as they call it back then, new age, techno, then you're familiar with this kind of look. Okay, so it's not, so John Romita Jr., who did the drawing of this book, definitely was living in the moment. And I would likely showcase these books when I talk more about a spotlight on John Romita Jr. because I I love John Romita Jr. in certain things that he did, and some of the stuff that he did I did not like. But one of my favorite all-time runs that he worked on is the Daredevil run. I love and enjoy his work on Daredevil very much compared to what he did with the X-Men. Oh, not enjoying those issues whatsoever. But back to Typhoid Mary, cool name. Okay, the look may be wacky today. Okay, but I try to give this book the benefit of the doubt of rating it based on what it was back when it came out, when people looked like that. So I don't ding the look of Typhoid Mary for what she looked like back then, because it was cool back then to look like that. And the character get a 4 out of 5, as well as a story. And the, anytime when you get the Kingpin involved, it's good. And I like what they. If I was buying this book off the rack, and I did, I think I was pretty excited to see, here we go again with Kingpin and another potentially blockbuster nemesis for Matt Murdock. So I give it a 4 out of 5 for the character, the name, the power, and 4 out of 5 for the the art and the story. The only thing about Typhoid Mary that bothers me once in a while is her telekinetic power. I almost wish that they didn't do that with her power. Make her more reality-based superhero. Whenever it comes to Daredevil villain, I prefer not any kind of superpower. Trying to keep it more reality-based, just like Bullseye or Elektra. But that being said, her split personality and her skill set make it very interesting, and I don't mind her telekinetic power. 8 out of 10 for Typhoid Mary. Last, because Daredevil TV, I'm making this video on Easter Sunday. So Daredevil TV show is coming in a couple days, so I can't wait to watch the 10th episode on Netflix. But if there's one villain that I think may appear on a TV show down the road, maybe not this season, but if the first season is a success and you might see him in the second season, is hot book alerts, Gladiator. I'll give a close look at this book at the end of the video if you want to see it. But Gladiator is one of those characters that I felt was somewhat misused by Marvel from the day that he was introduced. He's a cool character. The guy is a costume designer. Okay, so nothing special about his power, just big and strong. And if this was a TV show, you can certainly have a costume designer that moonlight as an MMA fighter and to get his skill set and work for the Kingpin. Who doesn't work for the Kingpin, right? But I can see this character having a rebirth with the TV show. For sure, in comic books, he was at best, and this could be stretching it, a B-level villain. His look is cool, sure. It looked cool on paper, but certainly, I don't think you want to have this look in a TV show. It would look kind of kooky. But as far as comic books, I love the look. I love the way they introduced him in here. This book pretty cool. It have John Romita Senior artwork. He came on board, I think, issue 12, stayed to 18, and then he jumped over to the next month was John Romita debut in Spider-Man 39. But in here, his art was pretty decent. Not as good as, I don't think he has peaked yet in this issue, in his early days at Marvel, coming from drawing a lot of romance comics over at DC. Okay, so he still hasn't honed his skills yet in the dynamic action that he became famous for maybe 2 years later with the Spider-Man books. But as far as the character, I give it 3.5 out of 5 again. And as far as the story, a good read, a good Silver Age read, 3.5 out of 5. Give it a 7 out of 10. I think, no doubt in my mind, this is one of the better villain, as far as villain that was specifically created in Daredevil books. Because if you look at what was introduced, you got the Owl, the Stilt Man. Not sure about Stilt Man there. No love for the Stilt Man in my book. But anyhow, thanks for watching. Bye. Okay, so here's a close-up look of the Daredevil 18. You had the beautiful John Romita senior cover. It's a pretty decent copy. I say about 8.5. There's a little crease right here, you can see. But other than that, there's a few ding on the spine. But the edge and corners are pretty decent. Really good page quality inside. Slightly yellow on the cover interior, but there you go. Nice looking splash right there. And here is your first look of the man that will become Gladiator. The costume designer. You can see an early look at John Romita drawing action. Look at this. The advertising. Spider-Man 39. This book actually came out about, I think, 2 weeks or at least 1 week before this issue came out. Let's see. And this is where he made, let's see, in his shop he made costumes of many different superheroes, and here he make a costume for this character. He's done in the Daredevil costume to impress his girls, right? And voila. You can see this is where he put on his costume. As I said in earlier part of the video, the costume look cool for comic books. Surely if you do this in movies, I don't think it's gonna work, or even TV, but there you go, a full page. There you go. The real Daredevil, of course, eventually show up to beat Gladiator, but he took some beating. And as early as in the stage of John Romita Sr. doing action, no doubt you can see that it's fairly decent. He hasn't peaked yet, but no doubt he has plenty of chop to take over the title of Spider-Man when Ditko left that book. Okay, so there you go. That's the inside of Daredevil 18, the first appearances of Gladiator. Thanks for watching. Bye.